Greetings, Judah. DFG here at Gideon's Flight. Hey guys, hope you're having a good day today. Today is the day that the heathens celebrate their independence. You know, and of course, many of our people, as always, we get, as you've heard me say many times before, if someone says there's a party, whether we should be there or not, we're running. You know what I'm saying? Party over here, party over there. You know what I'm saying? Let me get there somehow, somewhere. But it's their day of independence. And this message is not about that, by the way. This message is about order in the house. Okay, order in the house of Israel. But I just wanted to say that little part because again, these little things, although they seem harmless to us as a people, talking about these holidays. They I'm talking about the heathen holidays. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about, the covenant holidays. But these heathen holidays, although they may seem innocent, more times, all the time, let me be clear, all the time, it's another way of turning in the wrong direction as a people. Yah tells us that we don't turn to the left and we don't turn to the right. We're supposed to keep our eyes on Him, our eyes on the prize. The laws, the statutes, the commandments. They give us the confidence that we can. The law, statutes, and commandments are our roadmap that we might keep our eyes looking forward, looking straight. Not looking to the left, nor looking to the right, because that's where the distractions are, and those are the things that those distractions compete with Elohim. And I know many of our people will tell you, oh, no, that's just not true. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, I'll tell you that those who tell you that we don't know what we're talking about, I'll tell you they have no clue what they're talking about. And you know why I can say that confidently, my sisters and my brothers? Because I can assure you most of them will tell you that they're not studying the Word. They'll take one little piece of scripture out of the Word, and then they'll build a doctrine around it. Where they say, well, the book says that we don't have to, that we can honor. Don't let anybody beguile you in holidays and meats and festivals and all of these things. I know where they got that from. They got that right out of that pagan part in the New Testament that the pagans put in there as they added many things to our book. They didn't add it to well, they did add a little bit to the Torah, but to the Torah, but mainly that whole New Testament is infiltrated with half-truths. That's why, we were told and instructed, study to show yourself approval. Why would one of the messengers tell us to study the book? Because he's telling us to make sure, he said, to make sure that we can validate things that are written. Because if you had seen our book in its origin, you wouldn't have seen a New Testament with it. Again, I'm not saying they haven't tampered with what they call the Old Testament. I'm not saying they haven't tampered with it. I'm sure they did. But there's enough connectivity inside of the Old Testament, that you can connect the dots and stay on the right path. It's like sometimes, you're not sure where you're going, but they're like landmarks, you'll see, say, yeah, okay, I'm going in the right direction because I remember that tree. Oh, I remember that building. Oh, yeah, I remember that park. So see the same thing in our book. Although they tried to throw us off track by adding things and infiltrating the book, there's enough landmarks in our book to keep us on the right path. All right? And the law, statutes, and commandment, again, that's the headwind that pushes us closer to our purpose as a people of Elohim. But when you look in that New Testament, and they got in there, don't let anybody tell you that you can't celebrate these. That's lies, my brothers and sisters. Because all through our book, it tells us that we're not supposed to participate in pagan festivities. That we are not supposed to participate in pagan festivities. What is a pagan festivity? It's a festivity that's generated or created by man, especially unbelievers. And I'm going to tell you something about most of these so-called founding fathers. And I call them so-called founding fathers for a very simple reason. You can't find something that was not lost. You can't discover something that was not hid. Amen. So calling them your founding fathers is an insult to the people who were already here on this landmass called Turtle Island before the so-called Europeans came here. So those so-called founding fathers, most of those founding fathers were atheists. So any holiday that celebrates them or is celebrated by them or created because of them are pagan holidays, including this so-called Independence Day. And if I might add a little bit more to that, here's something I'll add, to the so-called Independence Day. Who independence was it? I'll ask you that question again, because I've challenged a couple of people already on that on Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. I'm looking at them. I don't do that. I told myself I don't do that. I don't do that. And one or two of them out of love, I asked them. I said, "Do you know what is 4th of July or Independence Day?" Just and I'm talking this was to Judah, to our people. I don't give a damn about. They know why they're celebrating it, because they're celebrating their gods, their man-made gods, the gods made with hands. And I know I'm right, because you can go to Washington, D.C., and you can see monuments to all of their gods. They have built monuments to their gods. You go there, you'll see a monument built to George Washington, one of their gods. You'll see a monument built to Abraham Lincoln, one of their gods. You'll see a monument built to Thomas Jefferson, one of their gods. Hell, you'll even see a monument built to, some of you ain't gonna like what I'm about to say, but a bought and paid for one of our people who was controlled by them. Monument, Dr. King, in there. And then you see other monuments all over that area. So anything that's celebrated, by them in terms of most of their festival days are paying tribute to their gods, especially this particular festival day. I mean, when you look at it from an independence standpoint, whose independence was brought forward through the Revolutionary War? And I want to let you in on a little secret. It damn sure wasn't yours, Judah. It was not our independence. Most of our people were, matter of fact, at that time, I'm almost positive that all 13 colonial states were slave states. As a matter of fact, when they were fighting their war, they would take slaves and, of course, bring them with them to their battles. But they would not take them and make them salaried soldiers, where they were paying them for putting their lives on the line for their heathen owners. Hell, if you want to know some real deep facts, George Washington, the so-called father of the founding fathers, he didn't want any blacks fighting, in his war. He didn't feel like we had the metal for it. Thought we were too much like cowards, too dumb, too stupid. It was only when they were getting their asses handed to them by the British that he finally succumbed and said, "Look, we're losing." I mean, not only were they getting their asses handed to them by the British, let me be clear here. They were literally abandoning the colonial army. I'm talking about the whites and whoever else who were with them, some of the other heathen nations who were already here, not Judah, but some of the other heathens who were with them. Their asses were running. Britain was beating their ass. Cornwallis and the rest of them were tearing their asses up. It was only when y'all people got in the fight. Because Washington was getting his ass whooped. And so what he finally succumbed to, I guess, the pressure of all his, consul, his officers, they start saying, "Hey, look, Britain got these blacks with them, and they're telling the blacks not only if they fight for the queen that they will be liberated after the war, and we need to do something because they're tearing our asses up. Oh, and by the way, their soldiers are a hell of a lot more have a hell of a lot more endurance than our men. They are bigger, stronger, faster, and they know the landmass. They're very clever And it was only through that kind of pressure that Washington succumbed and said, okay, let's let some niggas come in and fight with us. Yeah, I'm going to say it like he would have said it. Yeah, okay, we let some of these niggas on in. And that's when the war turned into their favor. All that, like I said, you can study that line history all you want. You go back and you look at a book called by Leon Bennett Jr. It said Before the Mayflower. And there's several other books out there. And read up on that so-called Revolutionary War and what happened. And after this country won its war against its former colonizers, they weren't enslaved to Great Britain. They were colonies of Great Britain. They were colonies. That's why they call themselves colonies. These were British colonies. Then they later became American colonies. But, they weren't slaves to Great Britain. You follow me? And so, anyway, when the war turned and, Great Britain ran out of resources, quite frankly, they decided to compromise, and give this land mass to the colonists. And what did those colonists do to reward our people? For the most part, they left them in chains. They left them in chains. Yes, some of the states, started to abolish it. The northern states, New York, for example, Massachusetts. Not immediately, but, year or two after and years after. But the bigger states, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, they didn't liberate Arkansas. They kept our ancestors in chains. So for you to be out there celebrating with them, you're only celebrating your own misery. I'm just saying, and that's why it's foolish of us to not know, their past. There's a saying that those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And this is so true with us. We won't study the book, so we let these lying preachers tell us that we can celebrate anything. Then we don't study their history as they have studied our history. So they tell us anything. Oh, it's all inclusive. No, you're an American. If you were born here, you're an American. Well, why did it take a piece of legislation to so-called free us, which it never freed us? But if you were born here and that made us American, of course that came in with their legislation. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. But at the end of the day, let me get to the point so we can get on to the message. Celebrating, the 4th of July, or celebrating so-called Independence Day is celebrating the holiday, or you celebrating the Day of the Thieves. That's what you're celebrating. You might as well say, okay, I'm going to celebrate, the Day of the Thieves. This is the day that the thieves, those who came to steal, kill, and destroy, those who came to pillage the land, those who came to enslave our ancestors, sell our ancestors, rape our ancestors, beat our ancestors, burn our ancestors, hang our ancestors. Those who performed all those atrocities against us when they got their independence, after they got their independence. But we're going to celebrate it anyway. We're going to celebrate their independence so they can have free reign to do whatever the hell they want to do to our people for almost another 100, for definitely almost another 100 years after their independence. 1776, the so-called Emancipation, 1865. That's what, 89 years later. So that means if a so-called black person was born in 1776, to see true freedom, to see any kind of freedom, if they were in the so-called southern states, they would have had to be 90 years old after that war was fought. You heard me correctly. They would have had to be 90 years old to have seen any kind of legislation stating that they were American citizens. if they were born here. Although they were always here. Their ancestors were many of our ancestors, when Yah scattered us, when he told us to populate, replenish the earth, many of our ancestors came this way. When the Tower of Babel and its confusion and Yah scattered again, many of our ancestors came this way. Through the oppression of our people, when Jerusalem was attacked by Rome, our people, through the Great Migration, many of our people came this way. Our people have been a migrating people from the beginning of time. So this so-called, if you were born here, you could become American after 18. Again, when you celebrate these lies, Emancipation Day, Juneteenth, 4th of July, all you're doing is really acknowledging the hands of our enemies, our mortal enemies. That's all you're doing. Enriching them, I might add, too. Because many of you went out there and bought you some ribs and some hot dogs and some hot dog buns and hamburger buns and a new grill. We went out there and got you some paper towels and some napkins and some barbecue sauce and some baked beans. Oh, yeah, some steaks. You went out there and got your crabs and your crawfish. Oh, yeah, your beer, your sodas. Right? Many of you did. Oh, you went on your vacation, so you bought some gas, right? You bought your outfits, right? All your suntan lotion, your beach towels, all these things to enrich the heathens who never saw you as anything but property. And even to this day, that's all they truly see us as, a piece of property to be used and abused, and then when they're done with it, cast into the trash, or to the trash mound, to the dump hills, to the garbage cans. So therefore, that's why I don't participate. So when they asked me that question on yesterday, I'm looking at them like, look, I don't do that. I respect your right to not understand things, but at the end of the day, you're still accountable for your ignorance. And if you come to me, I'm going to give you the truth. Amen? So again, at the end of the day, everybody got to make their own decision. I have no judgment for you. There's enough word here to judge us all. But I am saying to you that when you celebrate their holidays, you're celebrating paganism. Again, if you have any questions about, especially so-called 4th of July, go to Washington, D.C., and you're going to see all these monuments that they made to the gods that you're celebrating today. And if you truly understood your history, as they understand our history, you would come out from among them and you would separate yourself. You wouldn't participate in it. Oh, yes, I said as they understood our history. You didn't mistake what you thought I said. That's exactly what I said. If you understood your history like they understand our history, because we understand their history pretty well, so we're so entrenched in their history, we think their history applies to us in a positive way, when it never has and never will. You didn't see your black faces in their history book unless you had a chain around your neck or you were planning on some damn peanut farm, coming up with it. Okay, I digress. Their history, the history that they taught you, that lying history, that extremely well. But they know your true history extremely well, and you don't know your history very well at all. And I say that to you because you don't know the book. If you knew the book, you would know your history. See, they know the book. That's why they hired these agents to come out into your communities and under the heading of pastors, bishops, apostles, missionaries, evangelists, Bible study teachers, whatever the hell they call them, to push their propaganda that they use our book to push. Lying propaganda, because they knew most of you wouldn't read the book. You much prefer somebody tell you about it than to sit there and patiently study the book. Although you'll quote that Paul says, study to show yourself approved. Many of you will quote that. For Yeshua said that, they praise me with their mouth, but their hearts are far away from me. Because you won't, to you, many of us, it's just too hard. I don't have no time to sit down and read and study. Well, you went to their damn educational system for 12 goddamn years learning to read and study, homework included. And now you can't use that training to discipline yourself, to study what's real. You need to have somebody over you with a stick, holding a trinket over you saying, well, you won't graduate, giving you a quarterly report demanding that you do their study. But now that you are free from that system, if you're an adult, you can't take at least that discipline and come back to Yah and sit down and study your own history book they call the Bible. Because they have studied our book. They have studied it so well, they know how to manipulate you with your own history. I mean, after all, they hid your own history from you in your own book. They painted white faces for all of our leaders, all of our prophets, all of our teachers, all of our kings, all of our queens. Put white faces on them and told you that your people were not your people were them, and you were some jungle bunny out of the land of Ethiopia, Egypt some damn where, Africa some damn where. Oh, and by the way, they added a little caveat in the damn jungles. So the heathens hid you in your own book, and then they switched places with you and told you that you were the heathen and they were the people, of Elohim. But it don't take long to figure out which is which. There's no way they're the people of Elohim, because they're full of paganism, full of idolatry, and murder and mayhem. Even right now, they try to make a decision. Should we come out of Afghanistan, after all the murdering and killing they've done in that land? Over there, drug dealing over there like you wouldn't believe. Sex trafficking over there like you would not believe. Slave trafficking over there like you would not believe. And these are your so-called Christian leaders, your church foundings, your founding fathers. Do you really conflate that with the men of the book? Our men would have never did no shit like that. First of all, we wouldn't have wanted anything the heathen had unless they had stolen it from us in the first place. Then y'all tell us to go and take it back. Like he gonna take this earth from their wicked asses at judgment, which is soon to come, I might add. But our ancestors would have never behaved like they behave. They kill, they steal, and they destroy anything they get their hands on over time. All of them. The yellow ones, the pale-faced ones, the black ones, the olive ones, the so-called brown ones, all of them. Still, they're thieves, killers, and destroyers. That's not who we are. Not when we're in our right mind. But you don't know your right mind if you're out there in the wrong mind celebrating paganism, first of all. You're full of idolatry, second of all. And thirdly, you have no idea who you are. You heard me yesterday talk about that little wicked bitch, Tila Tequila. Acknowledging that our sisters were the sisters of Zion. And she also acknowledged that our brothers, I'm talking about so-called black people in America, were the men of Zion. I mean, she read it out of the book. She read it out of our book. She knew something. That little heathen, that Asian heathen, knew more about our book than most. Admit it. Admit it. Don't get upset. There's no need to get upset about this. That little Asian heathen knew more about our book than many of you. Tell the truth. She knew. So if she knew, that means they know. And there's a billion of them, the yellow ones. And there's another billion of them, the brown ones, the East Asians. You know, the ones from India and all of there? They all know who you are. Unfortunately, we as a nation don't know who we are. Isaiah said it well. He said, the ass knows its owner, the ox knows its master, but my people don't have a clue of who they are. When Yeshua came, you know why he didn't come to save your ass from sin? That's lies. He didn't die for your sins. He came to lead you back to Yah. He came to lead you back to who you were. He said, I came to save the lost sheep of Israel. Lost means saving. When you saving somebody who's lost, that means you go out, you find them, and you turn them around and get them back on the right path. You save them from their enemies. You take them from amongst their enemies and you separate them from their enemies. When someone comes to save you from your oppressor, that means they're taking you out of the hands of your oppressors and putting you back into safety. That's why Yeshua came. But what do our people do? Yeshua came and directed us to safety, and our people say, no, I don't want safety. I want to go back into the hands of my oppressor because I like it like that. So therefore, we celebrate their wicked holidays. And I don't want to hear anyone saying, oh, no, what are you talking? Look, we did it before. We as a people have done this time and time and time again. Yah has delivered us from our oppressors, and we went right back to our oppressors, or we lusted to go back. We desired to go back. There's a term, I can't think of the name of it. You guys know what I'm talking about. They will say that when someone takes someone and they do violence against them and they stay with that person for a period of time, they all of a sudden they develop this strange love affair with their oppressor. I can't think of what that term is, but that happens with them. See, that's exactly what is happening to our people as a nation. We love our abuser now. We love the rapists. We love the thieves, the killers, the destroyers now. We love them so much that some of us we even try to look like them now. You heard Sister Michelle Hammond talking about it yesterday. You know, from wearing their eyelashes to their hair, to their eye colors. I mean, we're putting these contacts and stuff in our eyes, green and blue and shit like that. You know, your eyes, you're not supposed to be putting anything on your eyes. Most of you women who doing that, don't be surprised. You're going to have cataracts in your eyes, and you're going to be blind by the time you get 40, 50 years old. You're going to be blind. And you did it to yourself, trying to imitate the ways of the heathen. When y'all say, come out from behind them, don't be with them. Stay away from them. And just for the record, you know, when I mentioned a moment ago, this is not the first time that we have many times y'all have given us the truth to free us. Moses was our truth in our first captivity. Moses was our truth. What I mean by that, Moses was the word that led us out of captivity. And what did we do when y'all led us out of captivity? As soon as we got a little pressure on, as soon as we had to be a little disciplined, we had to start, reading and learning the ways of Elohim, studying. You know what we said? This is too much. This is too much. We said we want to go back to Egypt. We had it better when we were in Egypt. Remember that? It's in Exodus. They complained to Moses. We want to go back. You brought us out here to die. We had it better off when we were slaves. That's how many of our people, the same way. They love their oppressors unto death. When you practice these pagan holidays, that's another way of saying you love your oppressor unto death. Believe it or not, I'm telling you, our ancestors, some of them, wanted to go back to Egypt where they were getting slaughtered over there. As a matter of fact, right before Moses and Yah opened the door to get us out of there, they were killing all of our firstborn sons. The king of Africa had put a decree that if any of our women had male sons, that they instructed their soldiers to go into their homes and kill them. Yet our men and women, as soon as they had to be disciplined, soon as Yah pulled them out of that wickedness, they started desiring to go back. Think about what kind of psychotic, how lost you would have to be, what kind of self-hatred one would have to want to do that. And my brothers and sisters, it's no different now. When you're practicing these days and celebrating these days, the days of your oppressors, you're no different than those who sinned. And Yah destroyed a lot of them out there. Matter of fact, when they were supposed to be out there for 40 days, talking about in the wilderness, training and learning the ways of Yah, because of their attitude, because of their hatred of the law, statutes, and commandment of Yah, that's all Moses was gathering for them so they would have a map in which to live by. Because of their rebellion against the Torah and their lusting to go back to the heathens, Yah kept them in the damn wilderness for 40 years instead of 40 days. He killed and wiped out a whole generation of people. And guess what? History is repeating itself right now. We have lost a whole generation. We have lost our children because we as the parents desired and lusted for the ways of the heathens. And now we've lost a whole generation of children. Now most of our children are atheists. Most of our children hate the word. Just like they were hating Moses' words and the commandments in the wilderness. And for that, they were judged and they were killed, and Yah let them die in wilderness. Let them die in a place that they were only supposed to be for a short time. And history is repeating itself. And just like it was their fault, our ancestors' fault back then, not all of our ancestors, because Moses never desired to go back. Joshua never desired to go back. Caleb never decided to go back. They stayed the course. They fought and they resisted. But the rest of them, I'm talking about those that were 20 years and older, they wanted to go back, and Yah destroyed their asses. He let them all die right out there, in the damn wilderness with all the snakes and scorpions and everything else. Just like many of us are dying in this wicked environment that we're in, called North America, in particular United States of America, on day 9, and you're celebrating this so-called founding on this day. You're celebrating the day that they were free to abuse you without malice, or with all malice. Maybe that's the right way to say it. And fathers out there, mothers out there, as far as I'm concerned, you're the most accountable. Because, this word has been here for us. What had you so focused that you couldn't take some time and get in here and study the word for yourself? Religion? Probably. And if you wonder why I don't do religion, it's because religion was used to deceive the people, to manipulate the people, to tell the people that their enemies were their friends. Although their friends did not treat them like they were their friends. Their friends treated them like enemies. Our so-called friends were our actual oppressors. And they taught us to oppress ourselves. You say, how? Well, we know about the killing and things that go on in our community, but they also taught us how to oppress ourselves by turning our back towards Yah, and therefore Yah has turned his ears away from us, so he doesn't hear our cries. He doesn't hear our prayers for deliverance anymore, because he warned us. He warned us not to take the way of the heathen, not to partake in their ways. And we rebelled. And as I bring this message to a close, let me tell you something. If you think that our I'm talking about the ones who were here, talking about after the colonial war, the so-called Revolutionary War. If you think that our ancestors who were here during that time and after that time were celebrating those days, they were not. Not only were not celebrating those days, it was against the law. I'm talking about if you were a so-called free man. So if you were freed right immediately after the Revolutionary War, and you were in New York or Connecticut or Massachusetts, one of those so-called free states, and you thought you could celebrate the 4th of July, it was considered a crime. They would have locked you up and put you in prison and sold you down to a prison state, and that's where you would have spent the rest of your eternity on this earth. It was a crime. And you're celebrating it again. And again, when the book says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge or destroyed for a lack of knowledge, that was never a truer statement. So again, it is time for us to clean up our minds. And your mind is not going to get cleaned up if you're going to keep your eyes on the ways of the heathens, and you're going to love their ways and take their ways over Yahweh's. And the only way you can reject their ways, you've got to come back to the book. You got to come back to the Torah. And just like Yah judged our ancestors in the wilderness because they rejected the Torah and put them in another bondage for 40 years in the wilderness, he's going to keep you under bondage. I mean, many of our people celebrate this holiday. They don't have the means and the resources to do that. Well, they should be storing up supplies right now. They're wasting that money. And if the shit hits the fan tomorrow or next week, many of these people today who are barbecuing, celebrating, having a picnic, on vacation, wasting money in their parks, you know what I'm saying, are going to be the same people who are not going to have resources or money to purchase the things that they need. Now, how is that not? I'm trying to figure out. I mean, that's very ignorant if you think about it. We're in danger as a people. These people are how you say, confederate around us now. Why do you think they put that anti-Asian law in place, and now these Asians are coming out of the woodwork with their sticks and their stones and their bricks and their garbage coming out of their mouth? The lies that they're willing to tell for their heathen brothers. Because they're confederate. In other words, they're partnering. And all of them are coming together. And they're all going to target us. They're already targeting us. You heard the little Korean devil talking about the sister who resisted her American celebration for the Olympics. The Korean woman who had the audacity to speak on that sister. You heard me talking about the little wicked whore who had the audacity to speak on the daughters of Zion. Now they're a confederate. They always were with them, but they were hiding in the weeds. And now them little wicked scorpions are coming out of the weeds. Yah's revealing them to us. But will we resist them? Will we reject them? Will we stay away from them? Time will tell, but I doubt it. Time will tell, but I doubt it. I truly doubt it. I suspect that our people are going to continue to go in there and buy their food, the food out of those filthy restaurants in our communities, I might add, exploiting our people, enriching themselves. Probably still going to run into their nail shops, their hair salons, their weed stores, and whatever else that they're pushing as poison to our people. I suspect our people won't change. And therefore will die in this wilderness, as our ancestors did. Because we sought the ways of the heathen over the ways of Elohim. How sad. So you go out and do what you're going to do today. You go out there and celebrate what you're going to celebrate. But this I will say. See, you men out there, women too, but men. Because at the end of the day, the buck starts with you. The buck stops with you. And you are out there, if you are rejecting this truth and you're refusing to come out from among them, then stay out there with them. But you don't know by now that they hate you, brother? How old are you? 7? 12? You don't know by now that they hate you? Are you 30 years old, 40 years old? You still don't know by now that they hate you? Are you 40, 50 years old? You still don't know by now they hate you? Are you 60, 70 years old? You still don't know by now they hate you? You still don't know that. You can't see it in their prison system. You can't see it in your financial state right now. That had they not, denied your father or your mother access to resources, land, loans, etc., that they allowed the heathens to take advantage of, that the poverty that you're in would not be the poverty that you're in? Had they not integrated our communities in the 60s and the 70s, that we would still be the owners of the stores in our community? We would still own the businesses in our communities? You don't understand that, my brother? Then, my brother, I'm going to say this to you respectfully. You might get upset with me for telling you the truth. They call it cognitive dissonance. Convenient lies for uncomfortable truths. I'm going to tell you something. If you don't get it, then you might be 40, but you got the mind of a 10-year-old. You might be 60, but you got the mind of a 10-year-old. Sisters, you too. If you don't understand this by now, that they hate us, and they've shown this. The only time they want to do any kind of business with us, when they can take advantage. The only time they want to do business with us is when they want to exploit us, when they want to take advantage of our resources. That's the only time they want to do business with us. Business, not have sex with us. They're glad to have sex with us anytime. I mean, after all, who wouldn't? You're the most beautiful women on the planet, the most handsome men on the planet, if you're in your right minds and you're taking good care of yourself. You're the tallest of the tall. The strongest of the strong. So why wouldn't they want to sex you up? But when it comes down to doing business with you, they don't want to do business with you. They just want your business. So I'll end this message with, again, come out from among them, be separate. Touch not the unclean people or the things of the unclean people. And then you'll see your power. You'll feel your power. You will know your power. You'll be able to partake and teach your power to the next generation so that they're not condemned and cursed as this generation is. Yah willing. DFG, I hope you have a good holiday. You go do what you want to do. Go spend your day and your holiday. But I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what our forefather Joshua said in Joshua 24:15. So y'all go out there and be back with the heathens that Yah has warned you not to participate with. But as far as me and my house, we're going to serve Elohim on this day. Oh yeah. It's 8:30 in the morning. Sunday morning. Spit that out of my mouth. But you see what your brother is doing. I'm in the Word. I'm studying my history. What you gonna do? DFG, talk to you later. Bye now.